It was an unassuming house on Elm Street. Modest, with a red brick exterior and overgrown ivy creeping along its walls. The kind of house that might have been warm and inviting decades ago, but now stood forlorn and neglected. When Laura inherited it from her late aunt, she saw it as an opportunity to escape her city life and start fresh. A chance to turn the house into a home. From the moment she arrived, the house felt off. It wasn't anything she could put her finger on. Just a sense that the air was too still, the shadows too deep. Laura brushed it off as nerves. After all, moving into a new place was always unsettling. The first week passed without incident, though Laura often felt like she was being watched. It was subtle, the hairs on the back of her neck prickling as she unpacked boxes, the feeling of someone standing behind her in the kitchen. She laughed at herself, calling it an overactive imagination. Then came the noises. It started with faint creaks in the attic, the kind you might expect from an old house settling. But as the days went by, the creaks grew louder, turning into distinct footsteps. Laura tried to ignore it, convincing herself it was just her mind playing tricks. She even climbed up to the attic one afternoon to investigate. It was empty, filled only with dusty furniture and forgotten knickknacks from her aunt's life. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was up there. One night, as she lay in bed, she heard it again. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, pacing back and forth directly above her. Her heart pounded as she stared at the ceiling, clutching her blanket like a lifeline. Gathering her courage, she grabbed a flashlight and crept upstairs. The attic door creaked open, revealing nothing but darkness. She shone her light across the room, illuminating cobwebs and forgotten boxes. Just as she was about to leave, the beam of light caught something. A shape in the corner, small and hunched. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling. The shape didn't move. She stepped closer, the floorboards groaning under her weight. It was a doll, old and tattered, sitting on a rocking chair that swayed gently back and forth. Laura's breath caught in her throat. She didn't remember seeing the doll before. She reached out to touch it, but as her fingers brushed the fabric, the chair stopped moving. A chill ran down her spine. She backed away, shutting the attic door behind her. That night, she barely slept. The next day, Laura tried to distract herself with work, but as the sun set, the house grew oppressive. The shadows seemed to stretch longer, darker, until they swallowed entire corners of the room. And then came the whispers. It started faint, like the wind rustling through leaves. But the sound grew, voices overlapping, speaking in hurried tones she couldn't understand. They came from the attic. Laura froze, paralyzed by fear. She wanted to leave, to run, but something compelled her to stay. "Get a grip," she muttered, grabbing her phone and turning on its flashlight. She climbed the stairs, each step echoing in the silence. The whispers grew louder. Her hand trembled as she reached for the attic door. With a deep breath, she pushed it open. The room was empty, just as it had been before. But the rocking chair was now in the center of the room, the doll perched upright. Laura's flashlight flickered, and in the brief moments of darkness, she thought she saw shadows moving. She aimed the light at the chair, but the doll was gone. The whispers stopped. The silence was deafening. Then she felt it, a cold breath on the back of her neck. She spun around, but no one was there. The attic door slammed shut, plunging her into darkness. Laura screamed, pounding on the door, but it wouldn't budge. The shadows closed in, pressing against her from all sides. And then she heard it, a voice, low and guttural, whispering directly in her ear. "You shouldn't have come." The flashlight slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. The last thing she saw before the light went out was the doll, its head turned toward her, its stitched mouth curling into a grin. When Laura's friends came looking for her days later, the house was empty. No sign of her, no belongings, just the doll sitting in the rocking chair, swaying gently in the still air. And if you listen closely, they say, you can still hear the whispers in the attic.